You watch him Mondays throughout the season on NFL Monday QB on CBS Sports Network. Steve Beuerlein dropping on by the DA show this morning. Steve-O, good morning.
What do you say, DA? How are you, buddy?
I'm great, man. Thanks so much for joining us. Let us start with the flags, the Clay Matthews penalty. How is this sustainable by the NFL if now they're calling when a defensive player lands on a quarterback as a flag? How can they keep this going?
Well, it's a more than a head scratcher. I seldom can relate to the mentality of a defensive player, but this situation is mind-boggling. I don't know what the intent of the league is here to try and manage it in any sort of a consistent way. It's almost impossible. I mean, because you look at examples of like what happened to Aaron Rodgers when he got slammed to the ground, which to me was a much more violent, much more dangerous type of a play than Clay Matthews hitting Alex Smith in textbook way with his head off to the side and with no intention of driving him into the ground. And it's happened, now 2 weeks in a row, and there are several examples both ways of flags that are coming out in that situation, and then other situations that look almost identical that the flag doesn't come out. And either way, the league comes and says they're both the correct call. And that doesn't make any sense because there's no consistency with the rule whatsoever. It's almost impossible to determine what is legal and what is not legal. And, from an analyst standpoint, we're sitting here trying to explain it to people, but we don't even know. So it's I think they've really created a situation here that is backfiring in a very poor way right now.
Patriots don't look good last night, and now they have back-to-back weeks where they've been beaten by double-digit points. The first time that has happened in 16 years. That was the last time the Patriots missed the playoffs with a healthy Tom Brady, 2002. In your estimation, what level of concern should be surrounding the Pats?
A high level, very high level. And number one, we all know better than to count Tom Brady out. We've seen this movie before. He consistently proves people wrong when they think the demise is imminent. So I'm not going to go there whatsoever. But the way they've played the last couple weeks, very concerning. And coming into the season, there were a lot of questions with the depth, especially at the skill positions. The guys that they're going to be counting on to make plays offensively is been a big concern. Now, obviously, they came out week one and played very well, but the last 2 weeks has been kind of exposed. I mean, Tom Brady throwing for not even 150 yards, I believe, or right around 150 yards last night, and Gronkowski was shut down, and Detroit just completely dominated that football game. We're not used to seeing that. And then, obviously, there's some questions on the defensive side of the ball as well. So I think Bill Belichick, he knows that he's got his work cut out for him. This is the kind of year that they're going to have to work for every single game, every single play they can make. They're going to have to try to squeeze it out of their team. And knowing them as well as we do, we can expect they're going to be a successful team. But whether they can make a run at the Super Bowl or not, I highly doubt it.
Steve Beuerlein joins us from the NFL on CBS. The Vikings are supposedly a Super Bowl contender, but when you trail 27-0 to the Buffalo Bills at home, it leaves a lot of question marks. Are they fraudulent or just one bad day for the Vikes?
Well, I'm going to write it off as one bad day. They obviously were not ready to play, and I respect Mike Zimmer for how he handled it after the fact by saying he did not do a good job of getting his team ready to play. I think the Vikings are still in the elite level of teams in the NFC, but that was a big wake-up call to them, to say the least. And this is what I've been saying all along, and you and I think have talked about it, DA. I've never been sold on Kirk Cousins as being a guy that can get any team to the promised land. Now, he's made a lot of money over the years. He's put up a lot of big numbers. I think he's a good quarterback. But I don't know how consistent he's going to play in the big games. And when the team needs him to step up and make some plays to get them back into a game, a la Tom Brady, a la Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, all these people that he's getting paid on the same level, if not more, with the guarantees and everything. He has never shown himself to be that guy. And the way he kind of crumbled yesterday with the turnovers and not being able to get his offense even jump-started a little bit, that was a very big red flag to me. And we're going to see how he responds moving forward.
I think a lot of people will look at yesterday's loss by the Vikings and say, wow, that defense gave up 27 points to Josh Allen, a rookie quarterback in the Bills. But what you're saying is we should not ignore the role that Kirk Cousins had in that really bad loss, right?
Without a doubt. He is, listen, he's guaranteed $84 million, all right? He was brought there to lead them to the Super Bowl. He was brought there to be Tom Brady, to be Drew Brees, to be whatever quarterback you want to mention that's won a Super Bowl. That's why Kirk Cousins was brought there. And he's being paid that kind of money. He's been paid that kind of money for the last several years. He has got to be able to put this team on his back in games like that when they're not playing well and find a way to get them into the end zone. That's what John Elway used to do. He could play terrible for 3.5 quarters, but he'd make 2 throws at the end of the game, and all of a sudden they'd be winning the ball game. And that's what you're expecting out of your franchise quarterback who you've committed to, and you've got a team built around him.
As a guy that began his career with the Raiders, what is your read on the story that John Gruden and the scouting department, the personnel department, do not see eye to eye, and that now the Raiders are 0-3?
Well, first off, I'm not surprised by any of it. John Gruden, we all know what a strong personality he has. And, when you commit to him and bring him in to the organization, Mark Davis and that Raiders organization knew pretty darn well what they were getting. And I think Gruden's got a more of a long-term plan. I think he's frustrated. I think everybody's frustrated. But, you're committing to him and saying that he's going to be the guy for a significant period of time. And he's going to want to do it his way, and he's going to want to make his decisions, and he's going to be abrasive to people once in a while. That's his personality. So they knew that going in. I think they're going to get through it just fine. They got to get that first win under their belt. I thought it was going to be yesterday. Unfortunately, it didn't happen for them. But I think once they get the first win or two, things will start moving forward, and they'll realize that this year they're not a contender. But the next couple of years, they'll have some more cap room. They'll have a chance to bring in some more elements of this team, and I think they'll be competitive within the next year or two for sure.
Okay, so you like the hire, and you have optimism that the Raiders under John Gruden, this is a bad start, but that eventually they'll get this thing righted sooner rather than later.
Well, I understand the hire. Let's put it that way. Whether I think it's the right hire or not, I think Mark Davis felt like he needed to make a splash and make a commitment to the long term and what he thought was best for the Raiders. And I wasn't in the interviews. I don't know what was promised, but John Gruden has proven himself, I think, as a coach in the NFL. He had all the leverage, and he got the deal that he wanted. Now we're going to see whether it ends up being the right marriage. The personality conflict that seems to follow Gruden around once in a while. That's going to be an issue whether they can find their way through it. But I think they are fully committed to him, and they understand what they're dealing with. And I think that he's going to get a fair chance to see if he can get it done.
Steve Beuerlein joining us, an analyst for the NFL on CBS. Watch him today, as well as the rest of Mondays throughout the season on NFL Monday QB on CBS Sports Network. It's always good to catch up, buddy. Thanks so much, my man.